Welcome to the next episode, everybody. Take a look. We're going to do a video on spark plug wires. Now, if you're going to change your wires out, maybe you got a crack or something, what's the first thing you're going to do? Probably one wire at a time, right? Which is great. You just take one out and put another one in its place. Pretty simple, right? But what happens if you accidentally get these out of order and you're not paying attention? And now you have no idea which one goes where. And for most people, this is a complete nightmare. So, what do you think? Pretty bad idea, right? And a boat, this is pretty easy to fix, but you're gonna need some information ahead of time to make life easier for yourself, which is what I'm going to show you here coming up. What we're going to do first to make life easy is you don't want to have to figure out like what wire is this. Like we don't know what cylinder it's going to. That's going to be the biggest challenge if you have to kind of keep getting up and down to figure out which wire this one traces to. And then if you have a nice little like connector here, you're gonna have to disconnect all those to figure it out. So what we're gonna do first is I'm gonna take some Scotch tape and a permanent marker, and I'm going to find out what number cylinder this one's plugged into, this one's plugged into, this one, and then same thing with these. And that's the prerequisite that you're gonna need to do first before you do anything in order to figure out where this is gonna go on the distributor. So there's a little bit more we're going to get to, but that's going to be your first step, is get some Scotch tape and a permanent marker and label each one of these wires. Now what we're going to do, that we got all the wires labeled on the top, you can see I use Scotch tape. It's really easy to pop off when you get everything put on the distributor. There's 4 on that side. This is a V8 that I'm working on today, but it works the same. Got a V6, Chevy, Ford, doesn't matter. 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, cool. That part kind of takes a little bit to get under there and trace it. So make sure you spend some time doing that. So everything's labeled. You can see my book here, it's seen better days. We've got everything from the 5-liter high output. That's the one I'm working on today. And I drew an arrow on it because there is another one here that's not the same model. I believe this is a Chevy because the distributor's in the back. But notice on the one that I'm working on here today, it's on the front. So just use some of these clues as you're looking at your different models. You should have a manual, hopefully. If not, just do a pause real quick and you could use that for yourself. So what we're going to do today, if you notice, this is faced forward. So we need to, I'm going to probably end up turning this book upside down. And then here's our firing order: 1, 3, 7, 2, 6, 5, 4, and 8. So that's going to be our firing order. So what we're going to need to do first here is we're going to need, let's get all of our cables out of the way. And we're going to need to open up this distributor here. See if I can grab my Phillips. Let's go ahead and open this, because we're going to need to determine something pretty quick here. All right, fast forwarded here. I got both screws undone. And this is a recent cap and rotor replacement that I've done. That's why it looks pretty clean. I'm not that lucky, by the way. All right, we can leave that off for right now. And then you can see this is the standard OMC Volvo Penta style distributor. And what we're going to do is kind of use this as a reference point. So we're gonna go ahead and leave that off for right now. And now what we're gonna do is we are going to focus back on our book here. Now, if you notice, what we have is number 1, which is over here. Turn my book upside down so I don't mess this up. Where are we at? Over here. So what we're going to need to do is number 1, which is going to be the very first cylinder on, this is a Ford motor. Like I said, it's going to be different for you if you have a Chevy or a different block, but mine is front left as I'm sitting here. So that's going to be the very first cylinder that's going to be firing. So what I'm going to do first and foremost is I'm going to pull this spark plug out of number 1, and we're going to turn the motor over a little bit by hand to try to find what they refer to as top dead center on this one here. And I'll give you some clues on how we're going to do that. And like I said, this is going to be easier done on a boat motor. It's technically the same on a car as well, or a truck, but it's a little bit harder to do what we're going to do because I can literally sit right in front of the motor, whereas in a vehicle you can't do that. So it just makes things way easier. So anyway, let's go ahead and remove the spark plug out of cylinder number 1. Camera. Just gonna spin this a little bit. Here's where the fun begins. You can see there's already been a mark on this harmonic balancer where top dead center is. And then there's an index marker right there. Basically what we're gonna do, and you should have one too, if not, it should be labeled. May just need to clean it up a little bit. We're gonna spin this around clockwise so it lines up with that little tab. That's gonna give us top dead center. Now, the problem here is it could be top dead center on the wrong stroke. So I'm going to show you something here. As we're turning this, it is pretty dang hard to turn this thing over, just so you know. And that's likely because all the spark plugs are in there and it's on the compression stroke. So even though we've got one of the spark plugs out, we still got 7 other ones that are rotating here. All right, let's keep turning it here. Almost there. I can start to see some of the marks. Okay, perfect. Now we are lined up with this little mark here, and that's going to be key to determine if you are at top dead center or not. Let's see if the cylinder is at the top, and it looks like it is. I could feel it using this little piece of metal just to double check, and you don't have to have one of these. I'm going to put an endoscope in here and take a look. See if it'll show up on camera here. Get it to focus. You can see the cylinder's at the very top, so that's good. Let's go ahead and power this guy off. Now that we know we're at top dead center, what we're gonna do is start putting the wiring back together on top. Now, here's the thing here. If you notice, it's pointing towards the back of the motor, and we need to grab our distributor cap here. And if you notice, even on Chevy, it should be the same thing. Notice how it's got an index on it here, so it can only be installed one way. What I want you to do as you put this distributor cap back on is very carefully look at what point here that cap is lining up to. And I want you to make a mark on your distributor cap. So spend a little bit of time. If you need to get up on top and kind of look at it, you can see I put a mark on it already. because it looks like, oh, it's getting hung up on the paper. Here, let me move that out of the way, make life easier on us. Take a look. So there's the index. There's the index mark. And it looks like it's lined up with that one on the cap. Okay, so that's important because basically at this point, what we can do now is go ahead and tighten our distributor back on. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that off camera, and then we are going to start putting the wires back on. We got the cap tightened up, so that's good. Let's focus back on our diagram here. And if you notice, this type of distributor, as it turns counterclockwise. Now, if you look at some of these other models, let's see, is everyone? Yeah, look at this one. This 4.3 turns clockwise. This other model, which I think is a Chevy, everybody turns a little bit different directions. So just keep in mind, you need to look at that. The other way you could do it is you could rotate the harmonic balancer and watch which way it turns, but that's kind of a lot of work. It's better to just look at the diagram. It'll tell you that it's turning counterclockwise. So just keep that in mind. All right, so what do? We know we're on, that's where the cap, that's where the rotor is facing right now. And our number 1 cylinder is on that one. So I'm gonna take number 1 and put that there. Why? Because top dead center, number 1, first cylinder that needs a fire in a firing order is number 1. If you're going based on what this diagram shows you, it may not line up with number 1. So just keep that in mind. This picture here with all the numbers in the circle is just really there to tell you what the firing order is. So don't pay attention to what the numbers are in there. Really, you just need to follow the firing order. All right, so on this model, same thing with the 5/8. The next one is going to be number 3. So let's find that one and connect that. That's number 3. Okay, and what's the next one? Number 7. So this is one of the wires from the other side. And you may need to fix these up a little bit later because it kind of overlaps one of these other ones. So I'm not sure which one's going to be which position is going to be best here. So let's leave that. Number 7. And then it says number 2. That's back on this side. So let's take number 2, plug that in, and then we need number 6. I think is over here somewhere. Yeah, here's number 6. Okay, number 6. And then we need number 5. That's on the right side as well. I think that says 5, yeah, okay. Let's see if I can, this is what I was talking about. Kind of gets in the way a little bit. Okay, there's 5. And then we only got 2 more. We got 4, which should be on the left side. Put that one right there. Plug that in. And it says number 8 is the last one. Should be right here. Okay. Make sure it says number 8. Yeah, that's 8. Now, the wire for the coil needs to be plugged in the center. You can tell there's not a lot of room. Okay, got it plugged in. Everything looks correct. You can just double check. Again, we got 1, 3, 1, 3, and then number 7, yep. And then 2, yep. And then we should have 6 right here. And then we need 5, which is right next to it, yep. And then the last 2 are these right here, 4 and 8. So there you go. That's the firing order for these two Ford models. It'll be the same, like I said, if you have a 5.7 and a Chevy. Yeah, see, here's the 5.7. So it's a little bit different, but it's the same concept. All right, that's rewiring the distributor. Now the proof is in the pudding here. Let's go ahead and put the spark plug back in and then crank this over and see if it works. Okay, that one's good and tight. Don't forget to put your boot back on. Otherwise this isn't going to work very well. Okay, nice little click on it. Let's go ahead and fire this thing up and see what happens. And that's the trick. So don't be intimidated if they all do come flying off. My recommendation is take your time, use the labels like you see here, and just be careful when you're first starting it up. If you did mess something up, stay clear of that carburetor because it may throw some flames. And even better, keep your flame arrestor on there. Be safe, be careful. Hope you liked the video. Leave some comments in the comments field below. If you got some questions, let me know what you got going on, and we will catch you on the next episode. Take it easy, everybody. Have a good one.